the So I'm Adopted podcast, where we talk everything adoption. This journey is not one we take alone. Together we grapple with raw emotions that surface from adoption stories. We want you to be comfortable enough to heal. So sit back and go with us on this journey as we dive deep into adoption.
We wanted to create a space for adoption truth. We have a common bond of being adopted. Our stories are very, very different.
Absolutely.
So we wanted to have our conversations and allow other people to hear our conversations and also be able to share theirs as well.
You know, this podcast is where we will hear adoption stories from other adoptees, adoptive parents, and biological families. We will also have input from licensed professionals such as psychologists, social workers, to get a deeper understanding of this adoption journey. Hopefully, these stories and perspectives will give hope and understanding and courage to those who are adopted or who are thinking about, being adopted. Along with the journey of acceptance, reconciliation, and maintenance of being adopted. Those are going to be some of the anchors that we will highlight. Take one of episode, was it 7?
8.
Take one of episode 8. Welcome to another episode of So
We're Adopted.
So I'm Adopted. It's not We're Adopted. But yes, we are adopted. I'm John.
And I'm Lisa.
And we are
adopted.
That's how it goes in the rotation.
It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. But we want to welcome you all for just welcome you into this space where we want to have some transparent conversations about non-traditional relationships. We both have different journeys of how we got to this place. And we wanted to create a safe space for individuals because adoption impacts people in many different ways. And as we have continued on our journey, we've learned so much in a short amount of time.
Absolutely.
So again, we're gonna jump right in.
Yes. So let's talk about our weekend.
Oof.
We spent a lot of time the past couple of weekends, haven't we, together?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
We have.
We had Mother's Day last month, and now it's June. And
It's June.
June is graduation month, and
Yes.
Father's Day is coming up. And we just recently had graduation. My oldest daughter,
Yes.
she graduated.
Tell us about that, because I know how I felt when my firstborn graduated. I mean, I cried the whole time, and just knowing, after all of that, it came to this day where they're getting ready to go to college. So I definitely feel your pain because it's an emotion. Not that I wasn't emotional when my youngest, my son, I have 3. So when my son graduated, but it's the first
one.
The first one really gets you. But I know it was an emotional roller coaster for you. So share how that went for you.
So I will tell you, and I shared in the other episodes how Jayla, being the first blood relative that I had a chance to meet, we have a unique connection, and the anticipation leading up to the graduation was humbling. I didn't know how I would feel. The whole time I'm like, am I going to cry? I had a lump in my throat because I wanted to control that emotion, but I wanted to be present in the moment as well.
Right.
As we were leading up to the graduation, Jayla began sending out her invitations, and she sent out an invitation to my first mother. And it was so interesting because when my first mom got the invitation, she called me and she said, "Is this from you or is this from Jayla?" And I said, "It's from Jayla." And her comment was, because this is not about you. This is about her celebrating her time.
Right.
And it just, that's that motherly wisdom in that moment, because I've had moments where I get too excited and in my own way. And she humbled me. She was like, "Listen, this is not about you.
Right.
This is her graduation. So as long as she's fine with it, I'm fine with it." So I asked Jayla, I said, hey, baby girl, you good?" She was like, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." So I went back with the report, excited. Yeah, she said it's a go. But what was even more powerful was the Friday before or the Thursday before. I sent her, the time that she needed to be there and the address and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she responded back and she called me. She said, "Listen, I know you all are social media people,
Mm-hmm.
and you can, any pictures that you want to take, you can put me in anything that you want."
Oh,
And
wow.
I was speechless for a moment.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
just said, God is good.
I can understand that, because since we started the podcast, we've been
Right.
very kid gloves, very respectful
Yeah.
when it comes to her,
Respecting her space.
Yeah, respecting her space. It's a process. So for her to say, I know how your world is, so I'm ready to step my toe in it, is a big deal.
And, I told her to come to the house before so we could all ride to graduation together. So I could park in a place so she wouldn't have to walk.
Right.
And, when she rang the doorbell, I kind of was like a little kid,
I feel you.
And she had made some goodies. And she brought them. She's like, "This is for you." And I was like, "I know exactly what that is." I'm not gonna say what it is publicly because I don't want to get in trouble for my wife when she finds it in the house. So but it's some good non-healthy food.
Yeah, well, we won't say nothing about that.
But in that moment, her coming, that was the first time she had come to the house.
Really?
And that would be the first time that the village would have her in it.
Oh, yes. And I can attest to that. Yes. I mean,
tell me how that.
Let me show you my experience.
Give me your angle.
So, because
because I saw in the graduation when everybody was sitting, you went over there and y'all were talking.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't wait.
Yeah,
right?
Talk to me.
So just because I had the same experience when my oldest daughter graduated college.
That's awesome.
My first mother was at her graduation. Wow. So my first question to your mother, after I gave her a big hug, and she said, it's like I already know you, because she watches our podcast. She watches the podcast. Thank you very much.
Please subscribe.
Please,
Trust
yes.
and believe that.
And so I was overwhelmed, and I'm a big baby, so I was like, oh my goodness. So I started talking to her. So my question was, so what do you have other grandkids who have graduated, or what's the what's the story there? So she said, no, this will be my first, because I think she has a grandchild that's 10 or in the 10th grade. 10. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah. So our stories are different, but our stories are so similar.
Correct.
So it's crazy because my daughter was the first grandchild to graduate college.
Wow.
And really, all of my children will be
the first.
The first, and then I have a niece who's graduated as well, just graduated this year. So we've had 4 of them ahead of Jasmine, but Jasmine was the first, and she was there. I mean, when I say, just like your mom said that Jayla was like, this is a big deal. It was a big deal when my mother was at Jasmine's graduation. It was a big deal when she came down when Maya graduated college as well for her graduation party. And it was a big deal when she came to TC's high school graduation.
That's powerful.
So she was there for all of them, where I didn't have my second mom there,
right?
But I had my first mom there. If I had planned that any other way, it would have never happened. That's why I say God orchestrates all things well.
Absolutely.
All things well. So I'm talking to your mom, and we're conversing and all this stuff, and she was just talking about exactly what you said. She said, she wanted to be here because Jayla wanted her here. It wasn't about you.
Yeah, she let me know.
It wasn't about you, and it's a process to go through. And as long as Jayla wanted her here, she was going to be there.
Yeah.
And I started like tearing up and stuff. So she's still talking. I'm trying to get myself together because I don't want to start, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's like the same thing that happened with me happened to you. And I am so thankful that I was there to experience that.
To me, that's a further illustration of why this podcast was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's too many parallels down this road.
Too many.
And I just think that there will be countless others that can benefit from that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, even having a discussion with somebody about how to start the process because they were told you got to pay $500.
Yeah.
And I said, whoa, what? No, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's free information.
Yeah.
You know, so I just think that we have the opportunity to impact so many people, to help people get to be a key, to help people unlock things.
Yes. And if anything that we say can help someone along their own journey, then we're doing our job.
Please, we got an email address if you want to send any questions,
Yes.
Facebook, Instagram, all of that.
Yes.
We are here. This is an engaging platform.
Yes. So please subscribe. So let's take a minute. Please subscribe, like, and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and all social medias.
That's right.
And TikTok.
And
We're on
TikTok?
We are on TikTok.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I'm not even, no, I do have TikTok, I think, but I don't know what to do.
We are on TikTok. So please do that for us. We really, really appreciate it. And please bring your comments. We definitely like to hear from you, hear your stories. Again, if you want to come on the show, don't hesitate to reach out to us and we'll be more than happy. And it just doesn't have to be the adoptee. Anyone that's in relation or connected to the adoptee is what we're looking for.
Absolutely.
So again, wonderful, wonderful weekend. Yeah. Your mom is amazing. Oh, I mean, she is just a blessing. I enjoyed it. Just speaking to her during that little bit of time. But yeah, I was getting filled.
You know, the comment that I heard frequently was, "I see where you get it from." They were like our mannerisms.
Oh my goodness! And that's the thing. The same thing. The mannerisms. So we're trying to. So listen, guys, we're taking pictures outside after the graduation. So of course I'm come up with the one. Hey, everybody move, let the grandma and the grandchild. And John's in the background. He's not a big dude. I mean, he's not a little dude, right? And we're like saying, John, you're not small. Move. But I know he was going through what he was going through at the time. Because as I'm taking the picture, I started getting emotional. So I had to walk away. So it's like deja vu all over again for me. Mm-hmm. So again, I'm just glad I was there to witness it for myself once again. Yeah. The excitement of it all, the full circle moment, I should say.
Yeah, that's why I put on in my Facebook post, she had intricate pieces of her village.
Yes.
You know, and it wasn't everybody there. It was 47 of us. And you still had at least 10 people that, you know, weren't able to make it for various reasons.
Yes.
But again, that was my weekend. So congratulations to all the graduates out there.
Yes.
If you have family members that graduated or if you graduated, again, these are celebratory moments that we encourage because now you have this tag or this moment connected to the graduation.
Yes.
Graduations are things that are thought of for years. And Jayla will always be able to say, grandma was that.
Exactly.
You know, so that to me is priceless. And I didn't talk a lot. I just sat back and like really wanted to be present in the moment. So it was definitely a blessing. And I'm glad that you were able to celebrate it with us.
And you did good.
I appreciate it.
You did. I was sitting right behind you.
Yes.
You kept your composure.
There are some pictures of me crying, but I've been able to intercept those. But look, we're going to jump in. We started a new segment, and we identify celebrities who have been adopted.
Yes.
So each week we try and bring some celebrities to just show you that there are more adoptees than you may be aware of. So we started this a few episodes back. So Lisa, who do you have today?
So I have someone that I believe everybody already knew he was adopted.
Okay.
So I kind of went with another angle, knowing that he was adopted, but what kind of made him who he was? who he became.
Okay.
How did that impact him as being an adoptee?
Okay. All right.
So my person is Steve Jobs.
Yeah. I didn't know he was adopted.
So that's not a mystery.
Okay. All right.
But I found a few things about him.
All right.
As a child and different things. So his first parents, weren't married, but they were grad students. So right there indicates that he's probably going to be a smart kid, just because both his parents were in grad school.
Okay.
So they were, further along. His adoptive father was machinist, and his mom was an accountant. So he was always around some type of a technical, numbers driven kind of environment, on top of what his DNA was, right?
Gotcha.
So I'm going to read what I have, because I thought it was pretty interesting. So when he was growing up, he was known as a rebellious student.
Okay.
Right? Typically, those types of kids that are disruptors are banned as behavior issues. But that's not really what because you know this.
Yeah.
It's because they're what? Bored.
That's right.
Right? So you know this for a fact. And most of the time, it's really because in Steve Jobs' situation, he was bored. In his early introduction to electronics, which his adoptive father kind of put that little spark into him, because they were trying to figure out what they can do with him outside of him being bored.
Okay.
He preferred practical learning. He wasn't a traditional learner.
Okay.
So he kind of did things outside the box, which obviously probably frustrated administrators.
Oh, yes.
Right?
I'm sure.
So that's what he kind of enjoyed doing the untraditional way of learning. He was a college dropout. Did you know that?
I did know that. Yes.
I didn't know that. So he was only there for like one semester. But throughout his year, he continued to take different classes, right? He took a calligraphy class.
Wow.
So that later helped him with what? Macintosh. You remember that? Did you have that?
Of course I had a Mac.
Yes. So that was part of what led that to him. So he also was, while he was in school, since he was a troubled kid, he had one teacher, his fourth grade teacher, who recognized his greatness. So what she did was kind of give him money or candy every time he completed an assignment.
So she positively reinforced his behavior.
Positively. My thing is, I hope he gave her some Apple stock later in life. That's just me.
We have to research that and find out.
That's just me. But shout out to teachers.
Shout out to teachers.
Shout out to those fourth grade teachers.
Yeah, it's the end of the school year, so big shout out to teachers for making it.
Yes, because those kids that are disruptors in your class today, you just don't know.
It could be the next Steve Jobs.
Could be the next Steve Jobs. And with that, he always conflicted throughout his life with school administrators and with his colleagues. Because he was fired.
Right.
At one point, he was fired from Apple, and because he just bumping heads. That disruptive child behavior was still in him later in life. But later on, he did return back to Apple. But what really amazed me is how his adoptive parents facilitated an environment that allowed him to cultivate his learning. They didn't do it the traditional way. Okay. They lead into the way he thought. They cultivated that. They didn't say, "Oh no, my child's a behavior child that he needs to go into, what do you call those, IPs or IEPs, or things, or just go with what the administrative was saying, because of his behavior was disruptive."
And I can see that with both of them being in grad school, encourage learning.
Well, not necessarily. No, his biological parents.
Oh, this is the adoptive parents.
These are the adoptive
That's
parents.
Right. Okay, got it.
Yes. So they saw something in him as well.
Right.
Something that was going to be constructive later on. So I just thought that was amazing because of how he shaped technology today through his unconventional approach to life.
It's powerful.
Because what I'm talking about right now, I'm reading it off an Apple iPad. And
we do not own the rights.
We do not own the rights to Apple, but I had to make a point that this person who was considered a behavioral issue growing up, everything we use today is being recorded on something he developed.
That's right.
Something he created.
So a big thank you to Steve.
So thanks. Shout out to Steve, Behavioral Issues.
That's right. So my person was John Lennon. And I was shocked when I began to research. And, we talk about non-traditional adoption can happen at, different times. So what happened with John Lennon, his parents passed when he was 3 years old. And he was adopted by his aunt and uncle.
Oh, I did not know he was adopted.
Right. And so that part caught my attention because a lot of times, and we had, resources and different things talk about in-family adoptions, out-of-family adoptions, that dynamic of here's a situation where parents split up. It wasn't that they, passed away. They were still there.
Right.
And now aunt and uncle say, we'll take them.
Right.
And as a result of, that, and I don't know if it was traumatic. We weren't there. But again, it's just non-traditional. So there's some level of trauma that was exposed.
Right.
And in spite of that, he still, and maybe that some of the songs that he wrote about, I had to go back and kind of research them.
You researched that. Wow. So just imagine the two people that we highlighted today. If they went the normal way, they didn't end up being adopted, would they still be the person they were today?
Never know.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. So the thought or the lesson in that is just be all you can be. Continue to press forward. Don't allow what your perceived circumstances are hinder you, because nobody can write what your narrative of life is but you.
No, but you. That is so true. That is so true. But listen, enough about our highlighted people. So Father's Day is coming up.
We get the big piece of chicken.
And everybody always talks about, we always do Mother's Day. Everything's about mothers, da 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 da. So we wanted to make sure we did spend some quality time.
It'll be a short show today.
Speaking about
you talking about it will be a short show? No, it's going to be a long show, a good show.
Well, considering that we both don't know our biological father, it will be a short show.
Potentially so. We'll get some
potentially, but we'll talk about it. But
absolutely.
No, we're going to give it a nice quality time for
absolutely. I think it's some healthy discussion. Day. Yes,
it is a good discussion that we can talk about our first and second fathers. So I don't know about you, but I don't think I lost anything growing up. Well, I'm different because I didn't know until I was older.
Right.
But now that I know that I was older, you know how you knew, but when I first found out, it wasn't like, oh, I need to know who I wanted to know my biological family, but it's, again, I'm sorry, but it's something about the mamas that we
absolutely,
you know what I'm saying?
A mother's love is unmatched.
So I didn't have that same desire as I did to know who my mother was than my father. Now, I'm just being real. How did you feel?
So to be honest, my first, and it's going to sound bad, but you got to remember I was a child. I was like 6, 7, 8 years old. And the first question I had and what I wanted to know, did I have any siblings? Because I was the only child in the house.
Right.
And then it graduated to, I want to know who my mom is. The concept of who my dad was really didn't evolve until later on.
Isn't that weird?
It is. And I'm sitting there as you were talking, I was like, when did I really start questioning? It was always, do I have any siblings? Who's my mom?
It's sad to say, but sorry, but I'm at that point where if I do, I do.
Right.
If I don't, I don't.
Well, and it's not a negative thing. I just
No.
think that society really puts the emphasis on mothers, first and foremost. Let's start there. And as I stated earlier, a mother's love is unmatched. So the natural progression when you are in the unknown, you want to know where you come from. So that key is the mother. And I know, so I'll say this. I know for me, when I started the process of exploring who was my first family, my thought process was if I can connect with mom, she'll unlock everything else.
I agree. I agree. However,
Right. And it's
and it's different in my situation. Yeah, I get bits and pieces. And I'm gonna be honest, I have bad memory.
Okay.
My kids can attest to it. So I did ask a couple of times.
Okay.
And she gave me a name.
And you forgot.
Both times. Why didn't I just write it down? I had a phone. Why didn't I just put it in the phone? So, but allegedly, as far as my bio father is concerned, he's deceased.
Okay.
I don't know true or not true that is. I do know that I have taken some time to try and seek him out. Okay. But I get to like maybe second cousins on both sides, like his mother's side and his father's side. I only get to second cousins.
On like ancestry.com and that's
on ancestry.com and 23andMe. Okay. So again, I've reached out to a few people, you know, they claim they're not giving me any information, saying they don't have information to give, they don't know. Okay. But again, I don't know. You know what? Ask me why I don't think that they don't know.
Why do you think that they don't know?
No, first, ask me how many siblings I have. Maybe let's start there.
This is a loaded response. How many siblings do you have, Lisa?
I have 4 that I know of.
Okay.
And then ask me how old the youngest sibling that I have.
How old is the youngest sibling that you have?
The age of my oldest child.
Oh, wow.
33, 34, in that age range.
Ooh.
So, in my mind, Papa was a Rolling Stone.
Yes, he was.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking he has more than just me and her.
Because it might be something that said, I'm not taking the DNA because I don't want to know. So it's possible.
So it's possible that they may know who this person is, or they could have been a little bit more helpful, but the type of person he may have been, may not be all that great because he was out there.
So that yields, though, sometimes situations happen where you are protected from stuff that you don't know. Because it may be you have your own buffer, so to speak, where you have filled in the narrative to protect your heart, to protect your space and your peace.
And that's why I say, whether I do or whether I don't,
you're okay.
I'm okay. The only reason I would want to know more for medical reasons. Yeah, I mean, that's a big reason.
Right.
But that would be it, really. So far, I haven't really, but I haven't gotten any further than where I've gotten. And I'm not like, oh my goodness.
I'm not fighting to get there.
I'm not. If it happens, if God sees it to happen before I leave this earth, then okay. But medical reasons would be really the only reason I would want to know.
So you talk about medical reasons. I was watching The Chi. I love that show.
I just started watching it.
Oh, and I can't spoil it. Then I can't spoil it.
No, I just started watching
So
it.
you're in season 1.
I'm in season 4, episode 3.
Then I'm sorry, I can't give what I was going to give. But those of you all who watch
you can. I'm not that type of person.
No, I can't. If you're watching it, you know what I'm going to reference. If you watch the last episode where the child has sickle cell, and they needed to find out, well, they didn't know he had sickle cell. He was sick, and when they went to the doctor said, "Well, I need DNA from both parents," and the guy that the young lady is with is not the father.
Who's the girl?
I'm not telling you that. So who she perceived to be the father was deceased, and she was able to get the DNA. But then once she got the DNA, it didn't match.
Was the person
no, I'm not going in there.
Deceased? That was he
No.
killed?
I don't remember.
You remember?
I don't remember. So yeah, I'm not telling you that. But it's a great show if you tune into it.
It is. I am binging it.
Yeah, it's a great show to binge. So for me, you talk about you don't know. When I did connect with my first mother, once I got over the initial shock with her, I asked. I said, is this person that they have in my file my father? And she said, no. She said, because I didn't tell him. And I said, okay. Is this person because allegedly? And she said, yeah, that was your father. And not having a chance to have met him, he passed away in 2013. For me, not having any of the pieces of the puzzle, having now a piece of the puzzle, and having to accept that this piece I would never be able to put into the puzzle, I think I just had to accept it. Because I wasn't going to mourn so painfully that I would disregard this opportunity. Does that make sense? Yeah, I wish I had 2 hands full.
Right.
But I'm gonna celebrate the fact that I got 1 hand full.
Mm-hmm.
And continue to move on.
Right.
For medical purposes, he did, like I said, transition in 2013. So allegedly or potentially, I have a sister. He had another child.
Okay.
But on my DNA track, it doesn't show anything as of yet. It's that, our culture, they don't talk about stuff. It's taboo.
Yeah,
and I've continued to be respectful of everybody in this journey because it's not just me.
Exactly. Do you know by any chance what he died from?
From my understanding, an aneurysm. I don't know if he fell or what happened. I think they shared with me he rode motorcycles. He was in the military, I believe. And I may be wrong, so please forgive me. But from the information I was given, I do know that he had an aneurysm. He died young, too, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on the exact age, but it was young considering. Well, yeah, I mean, if it was in 2013, that was what, 11 years ago?
Yeah.
So that's in his 40s.
That's young.
Yeah, that was young. So
well, at least you have something.
I have something. I've seen the picture, and I look at it. I don't think we look alike, but other people are like, "Oh yeah, that's your dad."
Really?
Okay.
Oh wow, I didn't even realize that.
I'm not showing you the picture.
No.
I have to show you the picture.
Yeah. Well, at least you have that.
I do.
Yeah.
And I think that again, when you're searching for anything, you grasp and hold on tight to every little piece that you have, and you celebrate it. So, like I said, I wasn't going to rob myself of being able to celebrate. At least I know something.
Yes.
And I can't do anything with it, or I can't talk, so I'm not going to cry over spilt milk, as they say. And I hate to use that analogy, but I think for this, it's relevant. I'm going to celebrate the life that I'm able to connect with.
Yeah, I agree.
I appreciate the fact of having this information, but now I'm going to make the most because I got to play catch up for 40-something years. I'm not having that.
Because tomorrow's not promised.
You ain't never lied about that.
Tomorrow is not promised. So I get it. I understand. I get it. But I'm glad that you were able to have something So again, if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. I'm okay either way. But I think I can get some medical kind of information through 23andMe, so we'll see. We'll see what God has in store moving forward with that part of my life. But talk to me about the father who raised you. Even though he's number 2, he was number 1. The man.
He was the
Johnny
man.
Sr.
He's actually junior. I'm the third.
Oh, you're the third.
Right. His dad was Reverend Underwood, and my dad was junior. And I'm the third. So my dad was a unique man. I would honestly say that. And he made it a point to be impactful to everyone that came around him. I always made the joke, he was the biggest short man I ever met because he was only 5'2".
Yeah.
But he controlled the room when he walked in. He was a thermostat because when he walked in, you knew it. And my mom used to joke and say, "You in here strutting like you 30 feet tall," and he'd be like, "You know it." And that's just how he carried it. He was 5'2", had a handful of diamond rings, looked like Eddie Levert from the OJ's. And
did. Yeah.
He did. That's what they used to call him that when I was in high school. I remember the first car that I remember, he had a blue Nova, 2-door. The seats would fold over halfway, had to pull out 8-track, and he was just that guy. And he used to drink pink champagne. I'm not pink. Well, my mom used to drink pink champagne. He used to drink the champagne of beers, Miller High Life. So that was the first beer that I drank because that's what my dad drank. I had a 40 ounce.
There you go. What he did.
What he did. I wanted to emulate that.
Yes. Yes. I can understand.
He was a role model for me. I'll be honest. And after my mom passed, our relationship went to a different place because at that point we became peers. I saw my father cry 2 times when his dad died. We were praying, getting ready to go to the church. And his cousin was there and a few other family members, and Deacon came in and they started praying. I'll never forget, he turned his head and acted like he was sneezing, but he was crying. And I saw it, and it floored me because I had never seen that level of vulnerability. And then, of course, when my mom transitioned, I saw him cry. My mom shared a story with me when I was in college. I wrote my dad a letter thanking him. And at the end of the letter, I put, "I love you." Because, that generation, they didn't say, "I love you."
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember. It was for Father's Day, as a matter of fact. And my mom, she said, "I don't know what you wrote in that letter, but your dad was in there crying. He was so proud." And I said, "Well, I just shared my heart with him."
Right.
And just thinking back to monumental moments of like when I got married, when Jayla was born, when I graduated from high school, when I graduated from college, when I got licensed to preach, that was emotional because my mom had just passed a few months prior to. So those monumental moments growing up, my dad was that dad to kids that fathers weren't present or that weren't as available.
I remember you saying that.
He would drive around and pick up the kids to take them to practice. And, that's just who he was. One of my friends after the funeral, he said, "Man, I forgot how much your dad really did for me." And he said, I always loved your family. They always embraced me. He says, "But as you were giving the eulogy," he said, "I was that kid that your dad was picking up, that your dad would say, 'Hey, did you eat? We all gonna stop.'" And he said, it wasn't that he made me feel less than. I was part of the family. And that's just, who my dad was. So he was that guy, and then as time went on, like I said, the relationship evolved and changed, and I'm just thankful. I learned a lot of lessons from him. I learned a lot of lessons from him. And like I said, when I did the eulogy, the fact that he chose to give me his name even though I was adopted, speaks volumes.
It does. It definitely does, because my adoptive father did the same thing. At
And
the time, I didn't get it.
mhm,
I didn't wrap my head around it. I was like, who does that?
right. Let me tell you what's even more powerful. As a black man, he gave me a '86 Cadillac Sedan DeVille. That was his car. My dad used to drive after the
What?
Nova. He got an Eldorado, and then he got a Sedan DeVille, '86, brand new. I'll never forget, brown. And when I got my license, he gave me the keys.
And what happened to it? Did you take care of it?
No, I did not. I ran it in the ground. It was so bad.
I
I feel
appreciate
so
it.
badly of what I did to that car. Um, oh my goodness. Like, this is when we used to have CDs. I would have CDs all over the car. No, wait a minute. It was cassettes back then. I'll have cassettes all over it.
You old enough for cassettes?
Yeah.
Okay, let's check.
Yeah, I'm old enough for cassettes. I remember the hubcaps used to come off. It was just bad. It was bad business. But the fact that he loved me enough. And then when my dad retired from Philip Morris, he went to work at Lowe's.
Okay.
And he bought a pickup truck, and he drove that pickup truck, and I drove the Cadillac.
Really?
So as a son, what is that model for me, where you make sacrifice as my father so that I can be comfortable? And that's what I try and do with my kids now. As long as they're good, I'm good.
You're good.
I don't mind. And I fuss and act like I'm upset sometimes. Like, as long as they all eat, yeah, I come and I'll fuss and make some noise. But at the end of the day, I'd much rather them be taken care of.
That's what dads do.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
I get it. My dad wasn't a fusser, but when he spoke, it was like E.F. Hutton.
Everybody listen.
Everybody listened, because he was a quiet man. He was a preacher.
Okay. I didn't know that.
I'm a PK.
Interesting.
Yes, I am a PK. And my dad I thought he was like the best man ever. I mean, I didn't think he did anything wrong, financially, anything from my perspective, he did it. He's the only person I know who died of being debt free. I don't know nobody else. And at that time when he passed away,
Right.
he died debt free, and that was mind blowing to me.
Monumental.
He was a type of man he was the protector. He was he made sure there was a roof over our head. He made sure that we had food. I told you, I think earlier in one of the podcasts, he was a groceraholic. I call him a grocer. My mom was a shopaholic. He was a groceraholic.
Right.
So we never went hungry, ever. There's no way we could go hungry in that house. There was food in the house all the time.
Got it.
All the time. We would ask, Dad, can I, get $1 or something to go? No, I don't have no money. But yet, anything breaks down, anything happened, anything emergency, whatever, he had it.
He would prioritize.
He knew that was the type of person he was. He was very comical. A lot of people didn't realize he was comical, but he was comical. He had a very hearty laugh. But he didn't say much, but he observed a lot. Like I said, I don't think he was too naive to the shenanigans that my mom would do back then.
I remember the conversation. So let me ask this. Tell me a funny story that you have about your dad. First one that comes to your mind.
Wait.
You can't sugarcoat it.
I'm trying to think of one. I'm trying to think of one. Only thing I can think of a funny story is, I don't know, I think I may have already said it. Every year, because like I said, my mom liked to shop.
Right.
She shops all the time. Oh no, forget that one.
See,
I got a better one. So, my dad loves pork.
Okay.
Loves pork. So my mom and I would take trips to New York all the time. I'm from New Jersey, so going to New York was no big deal. My aunt lived in New York, her sister lived in New York, so we would go there all the time. So there's one particular time when we came back, and back in the day, everybody had the plastic on their furniture.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad, and he likes, I don't care what part of the pig, he loved it.
From the rooter to the tutor.
Yes. So he was known for his pressure cooker and his pig feed and his chitlins or whatever. So we come in and we noticed that there was a film on the plastic couches.
I already know where this is going.
Right? So mind you, in our house, there's a wall separating the kitchen from the living room. It's the kitchen, the dining room, and then the living room. All I know is something ricocheted from the kitchen into the living room.
Oh my God.
And it was all over the plastic the covering of the furniture.
Did he try to clean it up?
He tried to clean it up.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, at least he tried to clean it up.
We were like, what in the world? What happened? And it was so funny. And he was trying to explain what happened. And all we could do was laugh.
Oh my God.
Because that's what he did. He loved food. He would take his medicine so he could eat whatever the food, whatever that was. That was the funniest thing to us, because how do you get from the kitchen to the living room?
Oh no.
It was the chitlin one. It was everywhere. Everywhere. And he wasn't one who, we cleaned. I don't think my dad ever cleaned. Like, he didn't do that. Right. That was not his thing. So when he's trying to, all he was just making it worse. It was so funny. It was all on the china. Oh my God. The china cabinet. I bet it's all on the wind, all of the things. It was everywhere. All on the dining room table. It was crazy. Now that was funny. Wow. Oh my God. And he was trying to explain himself. But he shouldn't have been eating it anyway, but he does it anyway. He gonna eat it regardless.
So you double busted. You shouldn't be eating it and you shouldn't be cooking it.
Exactly. And he couldn't hide it because it was everywhere.
Yeah, at that point you can't hide it.
Everywhere. Yeah, my dad was known for, if there's one lesson he did teach me, he taught me a lot of lessons, but one, how to cook a good steak. Medium rare.
Why?
Because that's the best way to eat a steak. Why? Because if you can cut it, and if you don't have to add steak sauce to it.
Okay. I agree with you. I was told that, when you cook a steak medium well or well done, you cook the flavor out of it.
Yeah.
My father in love, Michael Bell, he is a connoisseur of many different things. And there used to be a place in Hampton where you would cook your own. There was a great steak.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yep.
And you would go in and you would get your meat, and then they had a big hibachi grill, and you would cook it. And he would educate all of us on why you would cook a steak medium. He was like, it should be not blood running, but almost. And that is when you can tell if you have a great cut of meat.
Yep.
And I was like, no, dude, I needed to be cooked. I'm not trying to be chasing my food around on my plate.
No.
But again, as I grew and I learned.
Your palate changed?
My palate changed.
Okay.
I needed just a slightly pink,
Yeah, he knew his meats.
That's awesome.
He definitely knew his meats. I got another story.
Oh, you got too? Okay.
So he was an electrical engineer.
Right.
So he would come down to the shipyard on business trips quite often. He worked at the Lakehurst Naval Station.
Okay.
As a civil servant. He was in the Navy, but that was his job. So he would come down and help with the aircraft carrier. He would help do the catapults where the planes will catapult off. So I have an uncle who lives down here too. He worked in the Norfolk shipyard, and he would go visit my dad. He said, every time I go visit your dad, he's knocked out sleep underneath the catapult where my dad can sleep anywhere. Now that is no DNA with us, but I can sleep anywhere. For real. But he would find him knocked out sleep.
Under the catapult.
Underneath the catapult.
Oh my gosh.
Any old time. He said that. I always knew where to find him. That's where he'll be asleep. I was like, what? What in the world? But that's what he did. Yeah. He was something. I tell you, the thing that he really taught me was And I don't know if I would have gotten this in my original life.
Mm-hmm.
We call it original life.
We can, yeah.
I don't think I would have been able to have a relationship with Jesus Christ if it wasn't for him.
Ooh.
I don't think I would have.
Okay. Why?
Because he's the one who introduced me to it.
Okay.
And growing up, my dad was strict when it came to church.
Okay.
Very strict when it came to church. So my foundation is because of him. And what I built from that was because of him. I can't honestly say that I would be where I am today spiritually if it wasn't for him.
Your father introduced you to the Father.
Yeah. Look at there.
Gotta preach.
There's a sermon in there.
There's a sermon in that. That's awesome.
But yeah, if he didn't teach me anything else, that is definitely something.
That's good. You know, when you talk about the lessons learned, when you identify the impact that people have on you, I always say that we don't give people credit for the true impact they have on us. Mm-hmm. You can learn from people what to do. You can learn from people what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just sit back and you watch. You can only hide, but for so long, the true you will come out.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, being in the intricate or the intimate spaces of our, you know, fathers granted us a level of access to just life and how to respond to different things. I found myself, you know, when I come home, I do a lot of the things that he did just out of routine. He used to go and he would sit outside. He would have the back porch, you know, nice with stuff, and he would just sit out there with his champagne of beers and, you know, just sit out there. And I'd be like, "What are you doing?" I'm just sitting out here,
enjoying nature.
So now I find myself on my back porch. I don't drink champagne or beers anymore. It gives me gas. My body's not wired for that. But
they make it differently than they did back then.
It's still the champagne and beers. And I don't want champagne or beer. So they're open too. But just that wind down, because that's what I saw growing up.
Right.
And it was acceptable to do that. Like you said, my father, he went to church. He worked swing shifts. So it may be a scenario where he would come for the first half and then he would leave and go to work. Or he would come in late because he was getting off of work. Mm-hmm. My dad worked, he got off late. This is another reason why I'm a night owl. My mom would be up working, and she said as soon as that key would hit the door, I would crawl to the front door and meet him. And he would pick me up, and you know, that was just that moment of connection. So I just got accustomed to staying up late because, now I'm sitting here talking about it. I think that's when Johnny Carson will come on. Johnny Carson came on 11:30.
Yep.
By the time the second or third set of commercials, that's when he would be coming home because he worked like 10 minutes from the house. And it just was like when he would come home, my mom would have something to eat for him and we would eat. So again, bad habits, I know, eating late, trust me. But those are traditions that to me build the foundation. I still say that the meal time is one of the most underrepresented times because there's so much that can be accomplished over a meal. We are so emotionally driven when we eat that moment of sitting around together breaking bread, that's when you come together and you identify what happened during the day. What are our plans going forward? You do a mental health check of where everybody is. And we've gotten away from that because we're a microwave society now.
Instant.
You know, everything is instant. Or I never forget, I used to want to go eat in my room. And mom was like, "Boy, if you don't come eat at this table." I don't want to eat up here. I want to go get on the phone. But it was that connection moment.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to do that at all.
Trust me. I couldn't eat in my room when it was dinner time. I couldn't lay down during the day unless I was sick.
Oh, really?
No, she didn't play that game. Her mindset was,
oh,
you go to bed at night. You don't go back in your room and lay in the bed during the day.
You know what I just thought about?
What? Oh, here we go.
You know what I'm about to say, right?
I don't know. I'm nervous.
So you just said that you wasn't allowed to sleep during the day.
In the bed.
In the bed.
Right. I couldn't go back in my room.
Oh, okay.
That's not counting if I fall asleep on the couch.
Oh, okay.
I know what you're trying to say because I fell asleep. Just trust me, you were asleep as well in there.
I absolutely was.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So just to clarify, because I know somebody's like,
what are we talking about?
We all had an opportunity where we just unplugged and got away for a moment, and we were just worn out because of our lives and our routines. And since we started watching the basketball game, Caitlin Clark and Reese, and before we knew it, the game was watching us. We were taking turns napping.
Absolutely.
So just to clarify that.
But we got up at the right time. Well, I did the last 5 minutes of the game.
Right.
That was the most important part.
So I'm gonna share my funny story about my dad. And I think I shared this on another episode. I was in the 7th grade,
mm-hmm.
and that is that time where I kind of started to go in the wrong direction with friends and not take my academic.
You smelling yourself?
Started smelling myself.
Okay.
And the teacher, I'll never forget, he was an older gentleman. That's when we started switching classes, and the older gentleman, they reached out to my dad to kind of say, hey, your son is starting to make some wrong choices. So I walk in the science class, and we had labs. And in between the two labs, you had another room where they stored all of the materials. So I walk in class this day, and I'm looking because where my seat was, and I'm like, what is that shining in that room? You gotta be reminded, my dad had a handful of diamond rings.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened, he was in the room to watch the class. But he didn't realize that the light from the classroom reflecting into the storage room, because there was a window there, reflected his diamonds. So I was like, oh, that's what we doing today? I answered every question. And everybody's like,
the model student.
Who daddy is that? And then I'm just sitting there. So then this guy, that's not even the funny part. The funny part is this guy comes out and act like he's Joe Clark, like he wants to put on this grandiose show. Excuse me. And he says, I see why kids in here aren't learning. Excuse me. I'm getting choked up even talking about it.
That's him getting you.
Mm-hmm. Leave me alone, dude. He said, I see why the schools are so messed up now. Y'all kids, y'all don't learn anything. Y'all don't let like 5 minutes. And the teacher is sitting there letting them talk. I'm like, dude, control your classroom. Why you letting them disrupt your class? So then at the end of it, his grand finale, I'll see you when you get home. And I'm like, dude, I was good today. What are you talking about?
I wasn't bad.
And then I had to save face after he left. It was like, ooh, you gonna get it. I said, y'all see how short he is? I knock him down. What are you talking about?
Did you really?
Absolutely not. You know better than that.
No, I'm saying, did you? Oh, I know you wasn't going to.
Did I tell my friends
yes.
that? Absolutely I did. I had to save face. So I get home and he said, I don't see how you are able to learn in that environment. And I said, yeah, Dad, it's tough. I go to school with some rough kids, and it's tough to learn in there. And sometimes I'm so distracted. Like I played the role hard.
I know when you are the distractor.
No, I'm not the distractor. I'm define distractor.
Everything your father said that he couldn't believe you weren't able to learn in that class was you on any other day other than that day. And it's because of the rings is what gave you a little heads up.
True.
Okay.
I will give you that, Yeah.
I'm not just now meeting you. I've known you for a while.
But you know what? I will say this. In school, I was that kid that I learned differently. And it came easy to me. Yeah, I was bored. So because I was bored, it's now my playground.
Mm-hmm.
So that's That was a very
still...
interesting time. I got into it with the teacher, especially after was my history teacher, because he said, I'm going to tell your father. And I said, I'm going to tell your father. I was like, and it feels bad because I'm an educator. So I guess it's like you reap what you
You
sow.
reap what you
Because I
sow.
was like, he said, you can't even get a job at Philip Morris sweeping the floor. I said, well, you here teaching. I said, I go collect garbage and make more than you. You know, just that
Your
back.
mouth. That mouth
My
was...
mouth was,
Yeah.
but I was crafty with it.
Right.
You know,
And you still are.
you got to have the gift of gab.
You have it.
And I would say, something I got from my father. Just being able to talk. You know, the soft skills I think are lost in this generation.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
They're always down looking at something.
mm-hmm.
Definitely. Absolutely. Wow.
Father's Day. I don't think I was really prepared to talk about my father.
Okay.
You know, just and sitting here reflecting, it was a block that I had put up subconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm glad that, we're having this discussion because it is Father's Day. And, you talk about the role of fathers. The blessing that I have is to have my father and to have Michael Bell in my house. And you've met Michael Bell.
I have met Michael Bell.
He's a unique. We need to have him on here.
Oh, wow.
Because he watches the podcast.
He does. And I thank you for doing
Absolutely.
that. And your comments. I appreciate them.
So I think we'll bring him on because, again, non-traditional. He has a non-traditional family dynamic as well. Everybody has in some regards. So I think, again, that's what makes this so unique. With this being Father's Day month. Father's Day is actually coming up on Sunday.
Yes.
We want to take the time to say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers.
Happy Father's Day to you, John.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This will be the first Father's Day that my oldest will not be with me.
Really?
Because she's going to school and they can't check out only twice during pre-college.
Oh.
So I said, it's your first weekend. I don't want you to check out. I want you to enjoy your time. And I said, you can FaceTime me and, tell me Happy Father's Day, write me a letter or something.
Yeah.
But, it's different. And now that she's graduated from high school, I see how our relationship is beginning to shift.
It's going to shift. Absolutely.
I'm still that father, but now my responsibility has a few other characteristics to it.
Mm-hmm. It changes. It definitely changes because the conversations you've had with her before, but her environment's going to change. So the things that affect her are going to be different than they were when she was in high school.
This is true. This is true. So yeah.
And you just have to. It's a challenge. Mm-hmm. It's a big challenge. I know that my husband. It's challenging for my husband when dealing with his children as adults because
you still look at them as your children.
You still look at them as your children,
as your young children.
Yes.
They never grow up.
But they, like they say, I'm grown. I got adult bills, in which they do, but it's still challenging for him to hold his tongue or give his opinion or a suggestion or something of that nature. But you're going to get through it.
I ain't got no choice. No. I got another one coming right
You
behind.
got another one coming. But it's going to be okay. Yeah. Hey, and I want to wish my husband, Titus, a very happy Father's Day.
Absolutely, my guy.
Yes. So he's been a great dad.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have it any other way for him to be my baby daddy.
I have, privileged to have a lot of people in the village, and Titus is one of the people, and just to watch his example because you all's children are older, so I've sat back from the time that my kids were very, very small, and just watched how the potential future could look. Mm-hmm. So I've drawn many, many, many lessons from, just his interactions, his modeling, what he says and what he doesn't say in that thing. So I want to kind of land the plane on this. with it being Father's Day, I want to encourage the fathers, first and foremost, don't take for granted just because you hold the title, the impact that you have. If you are granted the opportunity, try and have a positive impact. There are many dynamics that lead to various situations. I'm not speaking to those. I'm speaking when you do have the opportunity to spend some time and let it happen organically, even if it hasn't been there previously. If you're watching this, it's for a reason. Take the opportunity to try and make a connection, to try and impact somebody in a positive manner. We talk about generational curses. We talk about things that are passed down over the years. Be the change.
Yeah.
That's if I can impress upon you one thing, be the change, because society will have you believe that fathers are not present. And I will tell you that we are present and accounted for. Are there some that aren't in the lives? Yes. There may be variables that are unknown of why that happens. But if you have the opportunity to reconcile, if you have the opportunity for a reconnection, don't close the door on it, because like we've shared the positive memories of our fathers. There is I don't want to say it's not a lack, but there is a awareness of unknown, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
And how that impacts other people is very different.
But the mothers also have a pivotal position in that.
You can speak on that.
I mean, you have to allow the father to be a father.
Ooh.
You really do. Sometimes, you and him may not have a great relationship,
right,
but that still doesn't negate the fact that is that child's father.
Right.
And you have to come to some type of an understanding, an agreement, to agree to disagree for the benefit of the child. So, because you hear it all the time. Oh, the mom talks down about the father, or the mom won't allow the father to see the child for stupid reasons.
Right.
If it's child support, then take them to court. Do whatever you need to do legally, but allow them to see their child, because it's important that they see a father, because they're always saying the father's not there, but it's not always because of the father, it's because of the mother. I'm not going down on mothers, but you play a pivotal role in that. You have to help with that relationship.
What I say when I do counseling, or just have conversations, mentoring, I say, one, remember that the child didn't ask to be brought in this world.
Exactly.
As adults, you chose to make some adult decisions. Be adults in your conversations. I encourage the mother and the father, don't talk down about the other. If that person is who they are, the child will see it when the time is appropriate.
Exactly.
Let them make that decision. Don't give your narrative, because your narrative is situational. The experience or the interaction may be different from what you had.
Yep.
So if anything that we can do to encourage, I hope that you take that nugget and make the best of the situation.
Because fathers are important.
Absolutely. Fathers matter.
Fathers matter.
Fathers matter. So as we sign off for Father's Day 2024, our Father's Day episode, I'm John.
And I'm Lisa.
And
we are adopted.
Thank y'all.
Until next time.
Until next time, to the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the So I'm Adopted podcast. We hope that this was informative and educational. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at So I'm Adopted. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel, So I'm Adopted. And again, thank you for listening. And until next time, make the choice to begin your healing journey.